The Ravens beat the supposed best team in the NFL. No more of this Brock Purdy for MVP slander. I'd like to see what Richard Sherman has to say about this.
Then we'll change the way they view MVP. You just got to be the quarterback of the best team in the league with the best record. I got you, Skip. The stats,
well,
it
always helps that you are.
What is going on, Ravens Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Vlog Talk, your home for all things Baltimore Ravens football. Today, we are reacting to Richard Sherman on Undisputed. If you are unfamiliar with his Lamar Jackson MVP takes, before the 49ers game, he was making the argument that Lamar Jackson does not have the stats to overtake Brock Purdy for the MVP. Since the Ravens beat the 49ers, he's still sticking with that argument, but Brock Purdy has kind of faded into the shadows. So I'm going to play some clips, react to him. Let's just play it and have a little fun with it.
Oh, again, you watch a game, and I love Lamar Jackson as much as anybody.
No, you don't. I do. So stop lying, Richard.
If he had his numbers that he had the MVP year, which was 43 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 43 total, then we would be shouting from the rooftops, he's the MVP of the league.
Here's where I disagree with Richard Sherman, okay? No, his stats are not as good as 2019. That's fair. That's true. I can't argue that. Nobody can. But if you watch the games, his impact is just as good, if not better. Like, why does that not matter?
So you're talking about this team wouldn't be this. First off, we haven't seen them without him this year. So just like you said, no other years matter. He's been the starting quarterback for the Ravens this entire year. So don't make the point that no other year matters unless you know what I mean?
I'm going to make that argument because we all know this team would be going nowhere fast without Lamar Jackson. I get it fits his argument to say that, but anybody that has watched this team for any amount of time knows this team is not going anywhere without Lamar Jackson. So we can stop with these dumb arguments that, oh, well, who's to say Lamar's the reason for their success? Have you watched the last 2 seasons without Lamar Jackson? How they were leading the AFC with Lamar Jackson. He gets hurt, and then they slide. Can we stop? Can we stop being ignorant at this point? We all know the truth. Just stop.
No QB is more important to their team right now than Josh Allen is to the Buffalo Bills.
That is dumb because Lamar Jackson is. I'm not saying Josh Allen's not important to the Bills. He is. Patrick Mahomes important to the Chiefs. He is. Lamar Jackson is just as important to the Ravens as any quarterback is to their team. Sorry, you argue a ball. I don't care. Like, that's just stupid to say. Like, it's if Lamar Jackson goes out, the Ravens are still going to make a deep playoff run. Not to say they're going to, we don't know, but they're not going to without Lamar Jackson. So just stop, Richard. Just stop.
The Baltimore Ravens defense had 5 turnovers last night. So when we watch that game and you watch them play against one of the best offenses in the National Football League and they have 5 turnovers, and you tell me Lamar Jackson was the reason they won that game, then I have a hard time with that because I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm like, dang, that defense is giving them trouble.
To Richard's point here, 2 things can be true at once. I don't think Lamar Jackson's the sole reason the Baltimore Ravens won Monday night. The defense forced 5 turnovers. That is massive. That's huge. The defense did their part. Absolutely take nothing away from them. But if Lamar Jackson is not the starting quarterback, and say Tyler Huntley had to play, no disrespect to Tyler Huntley, but say he had to play, they probably still don't win the game. So 2 things can be true. The defense absolutely was a huge reason they won. Lamar Jackson also made some really big plays down the stretch. Both can be true. Why are we taking away from either of them to make the other look bad?
But this year, we're talking about Lamar Jackson and the percentage touchdowns he's responsible for is 55.
I wasn't going to comment on this particular part, but I decided I will. Okay, I don't know the math on this, but how many times have the Ravens driven down the field and then they gave the ball to Gus Edwards, who ran it in? Okay, why would Lamar Jackson be penalized for that when he helped get them all the way down the field to where, Gus Edwards or Justice Hill could run it in? And obviously, a lot factors into that. That's not just Lamar, but just because he is doesn't have his Just because he did not single-handedly score the touchdown does not mean he did not contribute to the score, if that makes sense. I see what he's trying to do, but I still don't really agree with where he's going with it.
So I like him as much as anybody else.
Where do you address this, Richard? I do. Not you, me.
The year. When we're talking about every other category, coach of the year, these stats matter, but we're just going to throw them out now because it's convenient for your argument? I don't think so.
You know what else matters, Richard? Showing up when the spotlight is the brightest. When the moment's the biggest, who shows up? Okay? Just the last few weeks, for example, Dak Prescott, who was the talk for the MVP, absolutely wet the bed the last couple weeks. Okay? So then he's out, Brock Purdy's in. Brock Purdy's had a good season, right? How are you going to give the MVP to a guy that you cannot 100% say without a doubt is the most valuable player on his own freaking team? No disrespect to Brock Purdy. He's had a great season. That team is loaded with talent. And to me, Christian McCaffrey, if you're going to pick someone on the offense, would be the MVP. And I have no problem with Christian McCaffrey being in the MVP conversation because I think he's that big of an impact player. I digress. But now we see Brock Purdy, they lost the game. He threw 4 interceptions. I know not all of them were totally his fault, but he still threw them. He's no longer being talked about in the MVP. And Lamar is. Why? Because Lamar won the biggest game of the year on the road against the supposed best team in the NFL. That matters, Richard. And I know the defense had a major part to play with that. A lot of players did. But that matters. Winning matters. And if they win Sunday, they secure the top seed in the AFC. That should matter into this argument, not just passing touchdowns. Sorry.
So you're talking about a year where the quarterbacks aren't playing well, then it's probably going to Tyreek Hill or Christian McCaffrey. And they played the Miami Dolphins. I love how you say the stats don't matter when he's been middle of the pack in every category this year. So you're saying the MVP of the league is middle of the pack in every single category.
To further add to that point, if Tyreek Hill goes out there Sunday against the Ravens and balls out and has a massive day and the Dolphins win, who do you think is going to be talked about for MVP? Why? Because not just did he have a good game, but they won, and that matters.
Usually when the MVP of the league, they're number one in at least multiple categories. There's not one category he's number one in.
I guess rushing yards doesn't count. Oh well.
So when you're making this argument, Keyshawn, you're not making an argument based in statistics, concrete information that you can hang your hat on. You're basing it off of, you said one game, the eye test, BS like that?
Not one game. The whole season. The whole season, Richard. The whole season. Why just not why? Who said this just has to do with Monday's game? Monday just happened to be the biggest game of the year. Because again, I'll repeat myself, it was against the supposed best team in the NFL with the best defense and the best offense, the juggernaut. That matters. But the whole season as a whole, he has played very well. Why are we just pretending it's one game?
Then we'll change the way they view MVP. You just got to be the quarterback of the best team in the league with the best record. I got you, Skip. The stats,
well,
stats
it
won't
always
matter
helps
anymore.
that you are.
Who's going to tell Richard that the last, 10 years, it's all been won by quarterbacks? And here's a real shocker. They were all either the best team in their conference or top 2 team in their conference. Why is he acting like this is new? Like it's been given to different position groups, and then all of a sudden everyone's just advocating for Lamar Jackson. It's just dumb. It's like, is he purposely ignoring the last 10 years that have all gone to quarterbacks on the best teams in the NFL? Again, stats matter to a degree. They do matter. I agree. But also your impact on the game matters. The eye test matters, like Skip and Keyshawn were saying. That matters. So, yeah, when you are the top team in the conference, of course you're going to be in consideration for it. Why is he acting like this is new? It's just like, I don't understand. Look, that's about all that I can take. I want to know what you guys think. I agree with Richard to a degree. Stats do matter. And I don't have a problem with guys like Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill being in the conversation because I think those guys are also game wreckers for their respective teams. We've seen when Christian McCaffrey was out along with other players, but that's when they had their 3-game losing streak. When Tyreek Hill is out, the team does not look the same. That's true. That's very, very true. I don't have any problem with them being in the conversation and being seriously considered for it because I think they're some of the best players in the league. But can we stop acting like stats is the only thing that matters? There's so much more to the game. And I don't claim to know more than Richard Sherman by any stretch of the imagination. The dude has a reputation that speaks for itself, right? But it's so much more than just stats. And he knows that. I don't know. I don't understand why he's just sticking so tight. I don't know if he doesn't want to admit that he was wrong or what. But the game goes so much deeper than just what you see on the stat sheet. You can have quarterbacks with great stats that are on trash teams that don't win games. Should they get the MVP? Maybe. Their stats are good enough. I don't see it. Lamar Jackson wins games, and to me that is the most important thing. But I admit I'm a little biased. I'm a Ravens fan. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of Richard Sherman's opinion in the comments? If you're new to this channel, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment. And I'll see you all in the next video. Go Ravens!